Live with Gareth Laws, my guy. There he is.
Yeah, technical issues.
Nah, it's all good, brother. I appreciate you lending me your time.
That's
I know
right,
you're a busy man. So,
just got the boy down to bed.
I was about to say I had to not rush and do the same thing you were doing, but yeah, I was reading bedtime stories and making sure the kids in bed, nice tucked in. So yeah, I
That's what
always
it's
salute
about.
that about you. You're a family first guy, so I always salute that.
Yeah, man. That's to be
Yeah.
like. It's a pleasure to have kids and a blessing to have kids and make the most of them while you can, because before long they grow up and walk out the door and do what we do to our parents and
Yeah.
our loved ones.
Yeah, I'm already seeing that with my kids. Shout out to Kenzie and Talia, my whole family. You know what I mean? Shout out to the whole Garrett family as well. I see Tom Woods and my guy
I see Shearer as well. What's up, Shearer?
Will Neighbor in the building. Yeah, we got a
Hey,
legend in the
Will.
building. We got to defend that championship, Will. We need your help, man.
Yeah, I need to know if he's going to be involved.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, for everybody that's tapping in, man, I got my guy, Gareth Laws, really good guy, basketball legend in this country. You know what I'm saying? I want to get all the hooper minds, all the basketball minds on my podcast. So once again, just want to thank you for lending me time to talk basketball with me, man. I appreciate
No worries,
it.
man. No problem.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you, this is Gareth Laws. How old were you when you got into basketball?
Probably 12, and then seriously at 13. I was lucky to go to a high school over here that had a basketball coach. He coached back in the 80s, Kingston Kings, which is now would have been in the BBL back then, but whatever it was called in the 80s. And he kind of like, I showed promise, and I didn't do any other sport from like probably year 8, which is our second year over here. After that, he was like, no matter what we were doing in PE or in sports in school, he was like, no, you're playing basketball. So he would pull the curtains across and have me shoot free throws and run line sprints, while everyone else was doing football and tennis and cricket and all the other stuff that I hated anyway. So so 12, 13 years old. I'd say 13, I took it seriously, and then just carried on from there. And now it's 29, 30 years later, still going.
I about to say, man, that's what I always love about basketball. Once you get that love for it, like that genuine love, it don't end. You know what I'm saying? You still, I'm pretty sure, like even when you play basketball just for fun, like you still feel that kid who just started out playing, trying to get the hang of the ropes and everything.
You don't keep going for 30 years if you don't love it. I mean, it hurts a lot more.
Right.
No, wake up in the morning, your ankles, knees, back, you name it. It doesn't matter. I mean, doesn't matter how much you put into your body throughout the years. As you get older, it gets harder, but you still do it and you love it no matter what.
Right. So who did you say was the coach that got you into basketball?
I had a guy called Paul Smith.
Paul Smith.
Paul Smith. The guy said he was around at the time when it must have been. Yeah, he was being in the 80s, like early 80s, mid 80s, and then he got into teaching and took on from there. But yeah, he got me hooked on basketball. Like I said, 13, he threw me over to an under-19 program under a coach called Roy Packham. And Roy Packham was a legend in his own right back in the day. He ran a National League squad and won the national championships for the under-19s, which is a junior program over here. And I was out of my depth completely. I've been playing 2 years properly, tops, and there were kids there, 19 years old, jumping out the gym, and I was like, whoa, never seen anything like it. But after a couple of years, he got me into shape after 1 year. Then the following year, they started a younger program under a coach called Tim Lewis, which some of you guys in the UK will know. He taught me how to play the finer points of things, post play, things like that. And it just grew from there. And before long, I was doing under 17s, under 19, and playing for Division 1 men, Crystal Palace, or sitting on the bench for them, I should say. Didn't really play much in the early years. But it's been a joy to be involved in basketball. And out of all the sports I played as a kid, nothing quite captivated me as much as basketball. So I was a lone ranger in my high school. Even though I went to a basketball school, in my year in particular, I was the only one who really played it, bar one or two.
Mm.
And then when we play football, and I'd go and play basketball somewhere, whether it was dribbling or go and find the gym and just being on my own. It was fine. I loved it. But all I needed was a ball and a hoop, and I was happy.
Facts. That's what I love about it. Easy too. It's so accessible, and like you could play the game by yourself, but also if you bring your friends along, that's even better too. So
Yeah. I mean, it
yeah,
makes it more difficult. I mean, you guys are lucky. Like, we grew up in the States, you got courts everywhere. Like,
yeah,
back in the 90s, over here, and some of the guys on here who are from the UK can
mm,
vouch for it. There were no hoops anywhere.
mm,
Like, you couldn't even get into your school gym and find a decent court.
right,
I remember the first set of hoops they put over my local park. They would put them in. I had no idea what they were doing. They put them like it was like two football field lengths apart. They had no clue. One rim was like 12 foot, the other rim was like 8 foot. It got broken within a day or two. I think that was my fault. It's just, it was crazy. And then all of a sudden, it's just exploded. Now we've got courts like the ones in Clapham. They're all like the showcase courts, and you've got the colour flooring and the tempered glass bat balls, and all this stuff that.
yeah,
The kids nowadays will never knew what it was like growing up in the 90s, trying to play basketball, having to stay up
mm,
until like 2, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to watch a game because or try and video plus it. Which most of those kids nowadays won't know what video plus is. We had
yeah,
stuff. I remember like Jordan's my guy, and I remember watching the Bulls back in like 96, 97, 98. And my dad banging on my door at like 4 o'clock in the morning, going, "Hey, you got school in the morning, get to bed." And I'm like, I'm just this final quarter. I'm going to start. It was all worth it. Nowadays you've got Sky, you've got repeats, you've got NBA TV. It's the struggles for the UK players back in the day. Like,
yeah,
I'm glad the kids can love the game and play the game and have access to the game whenever they want it nowadays. Yeah, it's
yeah,
a good time to play.
yeah. That's why I want to hear, bring you on the show just to like hear your side of the story, because like, now that I'm settled here in England, like I'm learning about the basketball side over here, and like you said, it's I want to say it's easy to find a basketball court or a pickup game in the States, but it is easy. And out
Yeah,
here, that's why I got a lot of respect for British ballers, because you really have to love the game to keep going. Because of course, you can have dreams to go into the NBA, but it's not like pushed to you as a goal or an actual thing like it is compared to the States, to the UK. So like you said, like you was staying up 4 in the morning because you love the game, you know what I mean? And you was watching it because you love the game. And so I just love, a lot of British basketball players, and they attitude towards basketball because they doing it for the love. A lot of people doing it for love in the States too and other places, but it's kind of a way to make it out of hood or
yeah.
a tough situation. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you see a lot of guys who do make it to the NBA, make it out of enough tough neighborhood, and you might be a fan of their game, but you don't see them pouring every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears into being the great player that they could be, and it's because they didn't really grow up loving the game.
No,
So
I think it's a different mentality over here. It is in the States. Like in the States, like over here, like we're like drilled to play like soccer, football. That's our game. No matter where you go, no matter what school you go to, and even down to like my kids' school, they have weekly football sessions, and that's it. There's no other. There's nothing else there. Now, as my daughter and a couple of her friends love basketball so much, and they go in there and play on their hoop they got there. But guess what? The hoop's down to its lowest, so it's like 5 foot. And it's broken, and that's all they get. The school won't hire it because of health and safety reasons. And they won't give them a ball that bounces because of healthy safety reasons. Like, this is crazy over here. So it's a different. We get introduced to the game, or the younger got introduced to the game in a different way. You almost have to find it. You have to search out for it, and once. I don't know many players who find the game, who get involved in it with the right people, who don't fall in love with it quickly. Now, me personally, I've just been fortunate to be guided throughout every stage of my life. From my basketball playing life, I should say. From Paul Smith to Roy Packham, to Tim Lewis, to Graham Hill, who used to coach the Crystal Palace men's team program, and then moving from there, it was Warren Bobb, who was another junior program. Gary Little, who used to coach. Kevin Hibbs, who was the neighbouring high school coach, who was always around the Crystal Palace. And then you move on to like my junior program, like where my development really took off, was with then it was called London Towers, which quickly became White Heat, and Joe White, and being part of the Joe White family, and being guided from him for a few years. There's only a select, really few coaches in the country. I'm glad to say, it's by the looks of things and talking to a few people involved, there's more and more people who are taking players under their wing. I mean, down to the point where it made me represent Great Britain now for the over 40s. My coach, Jesse Cezanne, runs the Kent Crusaders. He's got an amazing program. They had Ryan Richards come out of there for Christ's sake, so there's some amazing programs, but it's like anywhere, I guess, getting involved in the right program gives you that little extra push to, achieve, or to, help you along your way and guide you in the right directions, rather than, I call them cowboy coaches. And it's not just basketball. It's a lot of sports in the UK. I'm sure it's the same in the States, where people are purely there to make money.
Yeah.
And okay, that's fine. Okay, but equally, at the heart and soul of the actual any program you do, as a coach or as a player, you want to be there to develop, to get better, or to develop your players and get better. Now, thankfully, over the years, it's getting better in the UK from what I gather and what I see. But back in the day, it was never that case. It was literally like a handful of coaches. And you look at the coaches then, the Jimmy Rogers, the Joe Whites, and the Warren Bobbs and the Kevin Hibbs, and all these coaches that I grew up with. They produced so many talented players that went on to do things, not necessarily at the professional level, but were talented players at the junior level, and a few of them went on and did play pro, and when they went overseas and did their business. Right. But nowadays, it's becoming more and more common for big basketball programs to spring up out from all over the place now, and even down to like the Exeter Spartans now, the club I coach at, the under 12s. They're starting a National League program to help development of the local area. Exactly what we need, and I think thankfully kids nowadays haven't got to worry about those struggles, like not finding a court or finding what it's like now living in the Southwest. How many runs are there how many good runs are there that we can go to? I mean, I put on one last
questions
summer.
I talk to you about later on, but it's tough. It's tough. Yeah. So I mean, you're doing a great job though, far as like trying to make it easier for people to do fine runs during the summertime, and it's like as my goal, I'm trying to I got big dreams or whatever, but I'm trying to make it like easier to find places to play basketball in this country, because like you said, it has improved, but it's just still kind of a struggle. Like, some of these sports halls booking not just a full court, but even a half court, they could be pretty expensive, and just for an hour.
I mean, we've got it tough in the Southwest because it's just not seen, regardless of the fact that we've got one of the bigger clubs in the Patriots, ex-Raiders, and then on the other side of us we've got the Bristol Flyers. But regardless of those two clubs, there's not much going on in between. Loads of local league teams, but getting access to a gym is nigh on impossible. Now you go to London, Birmingham, Manchester, it changes. Like the whole that infrastructure of basketball changes in the bigger cities. And like I said, growing up in London, it was fine. You could go anywhere at all. I had a youth centre down the road that I spent pretty much every evening where I didn't have training. We had Crystal Palace that was always pretty much open. We had the Brixton Rec that was open throughout. I didn't go down a lot, but during the summer we were always there. And then you had people put on massive events that we used to put on. We had the Converse 303 back in the day, and then we moved on to the Budweiser Slam tournament we had over here, and all these different things. The Midnight Madness that was just incredible at the time. One of the best tournaments anyone would ever play and rave about. Those things they're not around as much. I know Hoop Fix is trying to get their things underway and put on more of a showcase to try and highlight the game. But times are changing. But for us in the Southwest, dude, it ain't going to happen for a while. They're trying. Yeah. They're going to be wrong. They're trying, but until we get access to gyms, there's nothing you can do. You're paying 50, 60 quid for an hour sometimes.
That's ridiculous, man.
It's crazy. And then, like, for example, the gym we play in, they've got 4 courts. 2 of the rims are broke. They've been broken for like years now. They haven't gotten fixed. And yet, when you try and book the 2 courts that do work, they always turn you away because they've got football booked on those courts, despite the fact they could move them to the other side. on the 2 broken courts, but no, it's already set up. Can't book it. It's honestly, like, the struggles you get down here are crazy.
Yeah,
I
that's
envy I envy all like the city folk in here who like you can just walk into anywhere they want and just go and play.
yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like, eventually, I want to see, like, no matter if you in Leeds or the Southwest or some isolated some isolated town or village up in the Northeast, anywhere in England. Basically, I want to see a level playing field. Like you said, they got infrastructure, they got the facilities in Birmingham, and Manchester, and London, but they got to understand I know there's more people in those cities, and it's maybe a little bit more demand, but you can still get a lot of people interested in cities outside of London, Birmingham, and Manchester. It don't have
Yeah,
to be.
no, there is. Well, officially now, I think from what I'm looking at statistics, it's the second most played team sport in the UK. But
Mm.
this is where I get on my high horse with the media. Like, the media won't give us time of day, so
That's
therefore
the whole thing there too.
they'll keep it quiet. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
like
the whole
you,
thing.
like for example, like you had the BBL Championship finals the other week. Was it on BBC News? Was it on ITV News? Was it on mainstream media? Did you see it? You have to go and like stream it online. Or if you're lucky, I'm not sure they showed it on Sky Sports. They may have done. Don't get me wrong, but like you still had to be a subscriber to go to Sky Sports. It's
Mhm.
just such an easy game to get involved in, and there's nothing not to love about ball. Nothing. There's nothing about it. It's fast paced. It's high intensity. It's a cool sport. You look at all the icons throughout time. Some of the most renowned sports people in history were basketball players. You know,
Mhm.
other sports base their fashion on
Yeah.
basketball looks. It's crazy, but yet
Basketball, it's a whole culture. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's a whole culture to it, and people are heavily invested in that culture. And then, like you said, man, like I give credit. It's a slow process, but people are trying. But like you said, the BBL final just took place, and they may have shown it on the B. I have sometimes seen BBL highlights more so like on Spotlight, the local news, but
yeah.
they don't
Local
make the
news.
the biggest deal about it. Like
No,
I don't know the FIFA World Cup final. I know that's FIFA World Cup, but I'm saying like a Premier League football final
yeah,
or a big game. I understand it's more money and all that stuff, but we're trying to raise the level of basketball and the popularity and awareness of in basketball. So I feel like you said, the media has a big hand in helping basketball out, and they don't show any love.
it is. I mean, you look at the Patriots game. You can walk in there any night and it's a sellout crowd 9 times out of 10, even
Facts,
during the week.
facts.
When kids can't go there because they've got school the next day or whatever,
Yeah,
it's still sellout crowds.
yeah,
It's insane.
yeah. So, for people who haven't seen you play, you're a baller, you're a hooper. That's why you're on the show. I only got real hoopers or people that love the game on my show. How would you describe your game to people who never seen you play?
Um, Now or back then, completely different. No, I'd say back before I based a lot of my game on more of a street ball game, which was difficult to understand if you were from the UK because there was only one website at the time where we used to get like highlights, and that was streetball.co.uk, which I was proudly a member of. A bit of a group where we used to go around and tour around different tournaments, different games, do all the flashy street ball moves, which we learned from the M1 lot. I try to incorporate into my game as well. So I'm a bit versatile. So growing up throughout the years, I was I learned to play guard and I learned to play inside. So thankfully now, as an older player now, I still use them both. I'm more of a 3-point threat now. That's what I do. I sit on the 3-point line because it's just easier for me to get rather than run up and down and hurt my knees as much anymore. Or try to attack the basket. The jumping ability has diminished drastically over the last 10 years. Um, but I used to base my game like a Charles Barkley kind of look, like undersized big man who had more like guard skills. I loved Charles Barkley. He was my favorite because obviously Jordan's my guy, but Charles Barkley was closely my second favorite player watching. And it was just the fact that he was so big and. For a position, sorry, let's say he was undersized for his position, but he's still a freaking monster of a human being. So basically, a lot of handles, but mainly 3-point shooting now. But back in the days, I had a few bunnies. I used to be able to get up a little bit. For those who used to be around back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I was known to catch a few bodies here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to say, I think you hit it right on the head with it. The main word I would describe your game, like, of course, I met you later on in your playing career,
Yeah,
but versatile. Like you said, I seen your footwork in the post first, and I was like, oh, okay. Like you said, you undersized, but you know how to, you understand about positioning and you know how to do the left hand, right hand hook and how to pivot properly. So I was impressed with that. And then just hooping with you last year in the summertime runs, you know, you got the street ball handles, so you can definitely get yourself open, get your own shot, and yeah, you got no conscience, you got good confidence, shoot the three ball from either logo or right up on it with somebody hand in your face. So yeah, versatile was the main word I would describe you for
yeah.
sure.
I took pride in it. Luckily, that comes from the coaches. Like we had, like I said, Tim Lewis taught me to play in the post. And we had Joe White, who was just, an innovator in regards to making players more complete. He used to make our centers play point guards in the games. He used to make our guards play in the low post, just so that we learn how to play in every position. So, that transcends into today's game where there is no positions. I mean, I think my best year playing Division One, I was predominantly a four-man as a
Mm,
6'1" guard. And I was able to mark the bigger players, but they weren't able to mark me because they couldn't handle me on the outside shooting or driving to the lane. I think that year I was about 26, 27 a game. And it just,
yeah,
so being able to be versatile throughout, no matter what level or who you're playing against, has always helped massively.
yeah.
So any kids who are watching who do follow you,
Mm,
like, work on every facet of your game, from handles to shooting to mid range to low post, get your free throws down, you name it. Everything matters. You see today in NBA's game, everything's all about threes. You'd be surprised how easy the game becomes if you can attack the basket and then settle on your threes.
facts, facts. Because I train a lot of kids nowadays, and like, don't get me wrong, I ain't got nothing against all the step backs and the long range threes, but it seems like that's all they want to work on. And
Well, the
I'm just
problem is
like,
I said again, it comes down to like media because that's all they see. Like, if they search basketball, all they see is NBA. And the
yeah,
problem with NBA is that there are very, very select elite number, like you're looking at what 0.3% of the world's population even get a chance to look into the NBA. And then out of all
it's
those
only
players in the
400
NBA,
players in the NBA.
yeah, I mean, how many survive? Like, it's only a select few. You're looking at players who are naturally gifted, who spend also thousands of hours every year honing their craft.
Mm,
You know, so
yeah,
it's the subject of the right. Even the under 12s I'm watching, like even Yaz, for example, she tries a little turnaround spin move step back, which to surprise she's nailing. But I don't know where she get that from. She didn't get it from me because I was never allowed to do step back when I was growing up. It was always against the rules. Like we weren't allowed to do it.
yeah,
But kids nowadays they just learn it from computer games and from watching NBA on TV.
yeah. Well, for the kid watching, like you said, take it from Gas, man. He knows basketball. Work on every aspect of your game: your passing, your dribbling, your defense, your conditioning, your post work. Work on the skills of the game because it's gonna take you a long way. And you touched on like the street ball aspect of
Yeah,
it. So like we know you a street ball legend. I'm not too familiar with how the street ball scene was in the UK, but we all know like in the late '90s, early 2000s, it was taking over and
yeah.
one and like just basically just street ball with the handles and dunks and all the flashy stuff. So how did you get into that scene and like what was it like and what was it called and all that stuff?
I guess I'm just being was very fortunate. The guy who run the streetball.co.uk website, which was at the time easily the biggest in Europe. I think he was like 10,000 hits. I mean, a guy called Greg Tanner was a legend in his own right in regards to like just getting our game out there. And fortunately, he went to the same college as I went to, along with his brother Stuart, who was was a legend back in the day, and he don't think he plays too much anymore now. But I just used to love watching how Magic Johnson played and Tim Hardaway and and always like Kenny Anderson, for example, and I always forget. I always know him as Mark Jackson, but he changed his name to Sharif. Is it Sharif Abdul Rahim? I can't remember. I think it is.
Yeah, I know he's tough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was a
yeah,
Nuggets player. And these guys were just like lightning quick, flashy handles, pull up, shaking, mate, trying to cross people over. So I used to just practice that, and just like shaking people around. And I grew up on NBA videos over here, the VHSs, for the kids who remember the old videotapes. And you used to see all the little flashy highlights, and you used to go out and just practice them. So that translated into my game. And Greg was always around and used to videotape games and be able to stick them on his websites, and that transcended basically the game, especially around for London. All of a sudden it became a, just the traction it got with people watching and people and tuning in online and looking at the highlight clips and the message boards and all the hate that I used to get personally because I don't look like a traditional basketball player. I loved that stuff though. So
yeah.
when we used to go to tournaments, my goal was to embarrass anyone I possibly could. Bounce off the head, crossing them over, and just making people see look silly.
Yeah.
And just over the years, it just grew and grew and grew. And unfortunately, it was detrimental to my game, like in regards to the professional levels, because at the time, like doing a crossover and for the sake of doing a crossover it wasn't seen to be like it was like, oh, what are you doing that for? You showboating.
I remember it was real risky to play street ball, especially in like if a coach found out, they didn't back then they didn't like that at all.
No, I bet. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like the amount of coaches I had who like penalised me because I would I'll cross over for the sake of doing a crossover, rather than just make the simple steps and things like that. Thankfully, games change a lot nowadays because it makes it more
A
exciting.
lot. A whole lot.
But like back then, it was always simple. Like for a ball, if you cross between your legs, there had to be a good reason for it. And it's just things like that. But yeah, that's how the street ball came about, just by being in the right place and with the right people. And like every summer, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the clips. You YouTube a lot of them now.
Yeah,
But
I've
there
seen a
was,
few of them. Kerry showed me some.
yeah, there
Yeah,
was a court down in Brighton on the seafront. Like
and I
used to
saw that picture you just posted as well.
yeah, like honestly, man, like they were live. Like, and I say you go down there and start getting a few good pickup games, and by midday, if it was on a sunny, hot day, right on the edge of the coast, there'd be thousands of people watching, like on the balconies, up the ramp that used to lead up to the main road, around the court. And it was a tiny court, literally, like you could shoot from under one hoop and hit the other end easily without any trouble. So we used to go 4-on-4. And it was just all about highlights, dunking, and trying to embarrass people, and it just used to generate a great crowd. So that kind of got me hooked on the street ball aspect. But then you kind of had to curb it when you had to play serious ball, which is a shame back then because it didn't make things exciting. I mean, you look at
Yeah,
some of the players nowadays who are like doing crazy dunks in games and crossing people over and bringing them back, even down to the step back. That can be almost considered a street ball move back in the day. It's just crazy. But
yeah,
it was great fun back in the 90s, early 2000s.
yeah. I gotta read what Sheer Kicks Kid said just to because you deserve your credit. He was like, "Remember when you came with that street ball rep when you came down to Plymouth? Raiders should have played you more." Hey, I agree. Raiders should have played my man Gareth more, man. I just wanted to read that last
Hey,
part.
I'll tell you now, right? It was a combination of things, a number of things. Okay, Raiders were real professional. I had just come from a club that let us fend for ourselves. So I came from a situation where we didn't have access to a gym 24/7. We didn't have, we weren't playing 7 days a week, or we weren't going to the gym. I basically were training 2, 3 times a week, and everything else off my own back. There was no diet and nutrition back then, so I came down to Raiders like out of shape, which puts coach on the back heel straight away. It was like completely. Now looking back at it now, I completely understand. Um, but then I got a scholarship to go uni down here at the same time, and I was 22 and met my wife and so on and so forth. So things took a different turn. I learnt loads at the Raiders, like loads. Like my friends, a couple of my boys who I went to high school with and grew up with playing in London were at the Raiders. The reason why I ended up there,
Mhm.
So my playing time in the first year was my fault. Like I didn't take it serious enough, especially when I was like a little kid who I'd been so used to playing, and all of a sudden like got into a situation on a winning team where there were good players at every position, and
Right.
you had to compete. All of a sudden, you end up being not even the sixth or seventh man in the bench, not even eighth and ninth sometimes. You were scrapping for minutes.
Mm.
That affected me massively, and I wasn't mature enough to deal with riding the bench. So the first year was a complete wash. The second year, I got I felt like I got my act together a little bit more. And in the third year, definitely got my act together because I started working out more and started playing a Division 3 level along with the Raiders. And that was the year I felt I should have got more PT because I was torching people like in training. I don't care what anyone says; they weren't seeing behind the scenes, right? They
Hey,
weren't seeing
let
behind the
them know,
scenes.
man. Sometimes
It,
you gotta stop all that humble stuff.
yeah, but
Sometimes
it's
you gotta
cool.
let them know.
It's all cool though because like after I ended up leaving, I went to play for Towers for a year, and that was an interesting experience. But after that, I ended up at Leopards Division 1, and I had 2 or 3 really good years there before I'd done my ankle over, which ended my career on that aspect on that stage. Averaging 26, 27 in playing Division 1, it's still. I could have been doing that years before when I was still, just that I wasn't given the opportunity to. And that's the problem with basketball. It's all about opportunity, being in the right situation with the right coach, and given the right opportunity to play. If your coach has confidence in you, you can achieve anything you want. If your coach is going to be like someone to who restricts you and doesn't really progress on development, and then it's different as well. Like nowadays, people are lucky. You've got nutritionists, you've got physios. They weren't necessarily available. Nutritionists, especially for someone like myself who does like food. People who know me, they know that. It's tough when you're not being told what you have to do, the preparation you have to do off the floor. I mean, I've
Right.
learned that in my later years, which is why now been playing for the GB lot. You get yourself back in shape and you start learning more about nutrition, about stretching, about looking after yourself. Wasn't
Yeah.
available, so the Raiders was a great learning experience for me. I'm not going to put my playing time entirely on my own shoulders. I'm not going to put it all on their shoulders. A combination of both. But
Mm.
yes, yeah, I should have bloody played a lot more, and I probably would have averaged a lot more points. I just remember, like, I played the first 5 games when I first got down here, and I
Yeah.
averaged about 17. And then I remember we played Coventry Crusaders. I don't know if Shearer was at the game. Coventry Crusaders, right? I had like 20, 22, 23, and I finished the game off on a dunk. And that was the last time I played. Sat down. That was the last time no explanation, no nothing.
Yeah.
That was it.
It just be like that sometimes. But speaking of you still, hooping, you've been in the game for a long time now. Played for the Newton Abbott Pacers this past season, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Local league, for those who don't know it, it's not it's not like BBL or National League or
Nah,
anything like that.
man. That's still something to commend you on because, like you said, you had a season, well, a career-ending injury when you was like in your prime, in your earlier years, and then a lot of people who like put down basketball for a while usually don't pick the game back up. So for you to come back, even if it's local league or not, that's still a good feat. So how would you describe the past season was for you? How did you enjoy it, and how you think you did overall?
Yeah, we're good. We won the majority of our games. We lost to a couple of the games to the higher league teams. I would say there's 2 serious teams. You got Torbay Tigers and got the Exeter Spartans, who were like proper take basketball serious. They've got a lot of basketball pedigree and a lot of history in their clubs. Offensively, like it's just I used like the local league situation with all my teammates. One to socialise and to catch up. Although my competitiveness does take over from time to time, and I do apologise to my teammates a lot in regards to how I approach the game because as you know, it's different. Basketball to me isn't about playing the game per se. It's about competing now. When you get to a certain level, it's fun to play, but fun for me is competing. And if the competition level isn't there, I lose interest and it doesn't bother me anymore. And that's nothing against the people I'm playing against. It's just, at the later years, I've got so many miles on my knees now that it needs to be worthwhile and it's competing. So this year was really about the whole process was about winning the league, which we did in our division because we were lower levels at the time. But it was more about like preparation for my GB stuff. You know, the playing for the Finbar and representing Great Britain this summer. It was about training. It's about getting shots. About game experience and just getting my legs back under me. So offensively, it was good. I think it was about 37. I think average this year, 35, 37.
I'm not
Um,
surprised. Flamethrower.
you know, it's
Saw
I
the
had great
highlights
help.
looking good.
I had great help from Tom Woods. You know,
Shout out to Tom Woods. Shout out to Tom Woods.
he was averaging about 20. Sorry, about 32, 33 as well. So you know, it was a good year. It was a good year. It was a fun year. We had fun. We won the plate this year. We won the league in our league, for example. We got knocked out in the overall playoffs to the team that actually went on and won the whole thing anyway. But yeah, it was good. It was good year.
Nice. Glad to hear that, man. And then, you kind of brought it up a little bit. How's the GB 040 going?
Yeah, man, it's going well. I've been packing today. We've got camp this weekend. The final camp before we fly off to Malaga end of June. We've got a couple of games coming up. We've got one game this weekend against Richmond Division 2 team.
Okay.
And then we've got another game the following week, which is still on to be confirmed who we're playing against. We had a game beginning of May against City of Birmingham Division 2. That was an eye opener, man. Like how quick young kids would run up and down now in your 20s. Like it was like honestly, like we were trying to keep up with them, and yeah, like it was eye opener. However, like, they took a massive lead in us in the first half, and thankfully we came back. I had a really good third quarter, and we came back and won the game by 3. So that was good, but yeah, real good. I love playing the GB lot. They're freaking outstanding, like professional, like individuals. It's so refreshing to be able to to be able to play against people who share the same interests, same love, and same passion in your own age, who all have the same goal of just competing at the highest possible level you can. I mean, you'll know yourself when you get to the grand old age of 40, when you might you probably still be playing the BBL because there's no reason why not if you look after yourself.
I'm about to say, I'm gonna try to go to the wheels fall off literally, but yeah,
That's it, man.
I'm
That's
not
it.
too
But
far behind you, man. Time, as you get older, you realize time moves fast. So yeah,
yeah, it does. It does. When
yeah,
especially when you get kids coming along, time flies. But the GB stuff is the maxi basketball has been an incredible journey from start to finish, and I look to continue. So we're off to the European Championships end of June for a 12-day tournament, and then hopefully do well in that, and then we'll start preparing for the World Championships next year in Orlando.
yeah, man. Good luck with all that. You know what I
Cheers.
mean? I ain't gotta tell you, but just keep doing you, keep killing as usual, man. And for people that don't know, we are me, myself, Gareth, and Tom and Will. We are defending Bridport 3-on-3. No, sorry, Brad, my bad.
Brad, yeah.
Defending 3-on-3 champions. You know what I mean? So that was a lot of fun last year. Started out really good. I love the outdoor courts they brought in. Even one court was like the Space Jam, a new legacy theme. That was pretty cool. Got a little rainy. I don't know, that was the first day or maybe the second day, but
Second day.
we ended up making the most out of it. Luckily, they had that indoor gym right next door.
Yeah.
And yeah, we came away with the victory. That was the first time they had that tournament, right?
Oh no, they've had it a couple of years. It's the first time they've had it. They extended it to a 2-day tournament. Before I think it's
Oh,
just a
okay,
1 day.
okay.
They've always had big court there, and Crates and Rail has always put on a really good tournament there. I mean, I've competed in it twice. It's just finding the time to get there. Really, I'd love to do things like that every single year, but sometimes time commitment was getting in the way. But no, yeah. So it's put on really well. It was good fun, man. It gets all those basketball players down. Everyone's cool. It's more of a social. Like it's just, but everyone takes it seriously as well.
Yeah. No, it was good for me because I got to tap into the whole British basketball community. I'm still new, but of course I already knew when I first got here with Leicester. I kind of realized all the British guys know each other just because there's tournaments during the summertime and a lot of people travel and that's how you meet each other. So I'm kind of getting into the loop now. So that was fun for me. But 3-on-3 basketball is growing at a very high rate. You know what I mean? Even the Patriots got a youth 3-on-3 tournament coming up soon, and just recently had his first year in the Olympics last year. And
Yeah.
so for people that, don't really know, you ain't got to break down the rules or anything, but describe a 3-on-3 game compared to, the normal traditional 5-on-5.
They've tried to change it over the years to make it more like a game situation. So it's more continuous, it's more fast paced. There is no time to you don't check the ball at the top anymore. Once you score, ball gets back out to the top, you play live. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. So they've kept it real high paced, fast tempo. And as you know yourself, like if you don't come ready to play in shape in those games, you get caught out quickly because there is no time, there is no breaks in between. I'm not overly keen on the ball. Like they use it for those who
I'm
don't
gonna go
know.
ahead and say it. I hate it.
Yeah, yeah,
I hate it.
they use a size 6, a smaller ball at the same weight as a size 7. Um, I'm not keen on it. And to this day, like I still don't really understand the whole process of switch changing ball. I never learned with a different ball. I had the full size men's basketball from the age of get go. Like there was no changing around. So I don't know. I think everyone has their own different opinions on it. Me personally, not a fan of changing ball size. Like, just keep the ball as it is. Just keep the ball, like, whatever ball it was. Like, just use it. Like, there's no need to change
Yeah.
the size of it and the weight of it, whatever. Let's just play basketball. But I do really like the format of it, and I do like the rules of like just the high intense up tempo pace of basketball rather than the whole like one offense. Let's check the ball up top, and you get the idiot sometimes who like to check the ball 5, 6, 7, 8 times and then try
Yeah.
and I mean I don't know, this is a question for you. So like going back to the traditional 3-on-3, right?
Mhm.
I find it interesting down here in particular. I don't know whether it's a countrywide thing, and anyone who's watching could give us feedback later on. Like, what's your take? Do you after the check ball, can you attack or do you have to make a pass first?
Well, for me, growing up in Atlanta, you would check the ball and you must pass it in. And
Right,
it's
thank
funny.
you.
It's funny you say that because I had like coaching today with the kids, and we were playing 3-on-3, and I had to tell them like how to, clear the ball behind the 3-point
Yeah,
line after you get a defensive rebound, and yeah, that's what I'm teaching them. I'm teaching them my way.
yeah,
Uh, for the most part, I'm trying to think because I used to go to Chicago every summer, and they used to check ball the same way: check ball, pass it in. I've never really known too many people like legit basketball players to like just check ball and then start dribbling
yeah,
or just just start playing. I don't think.
yeah.
I think you gotta get the defense to get set. I think that's just a fair chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I'm the
But
same. No, yeah, I'm the same. Like, it's like you check the ball, one pass, then you're live. But you get kids, especially down here. I don't know what it's like, but everyone's like, you check the ball, like, and they'll go for that. They'll just attack the basket. I'm like,
I
come
think
on,
that's
man.
like that should be the unwritten rule for like 3-on-3 or half court basketball. Check ball and then you must pass it in. But speaking on that,
What up,
like the
biscuit?
way, huh?
Sorry,
No,
trips.
the way
Lunchbox just
the
joined.
way the format is for the FIBA 3-on-3, I think it works because
Yeah.
you don't check ball. I don't. How does it work after you score? Do you check ball when you score?
No, no, no. Wait, once you score, you get pass it back out to the top,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you go live.
So I think that's what makes it work because like when my thing is, I thought it was gonna be a cakewalk playing 3-on-3 because it's half court, and then
Yeah,
like if you playing just normal street 3-on-3, after somebody score, you stop. So you get to take a quick little break, get to walk back. But with 3-on-3 basketball, like you said, if you don't come out right and a team come out on fire, you're gonna be in big trouble because the fact that you're not checking the ball and the fact that it's continuous and it's quick, it can kind of it can mess you up. You got to kind of
yeah.
come with a strategy, like for everybody on. Like we lost one game in that tournament
Hey,
because
hey. I
for
was
one we
PO'd, man.
so I'm
I
still
was
got
screaming at you guys, man. I was like,
I
what
was
the hell,
gonna
man?
say
It's cool. It's cool.
got
It's
kind
all
of
right. It's all
ugly
right.
in. But yeah, like that team, we came out kind of sluggish, even though we was going back and forth the whole game. But we didn't really struggle in that tournament. But we came out kind of sluggish, and they was hitting. And
Yeah,
like you said, not only that, in 3-on-3, it's no rest break, but you also gotta have a good strategy. And their strategy was to like leave two in and leave one at the 3-point line. So that's how they was catching us
yeah,
because
yeah,
naturally I'm a big man. Will's a 4 or 5 who floats on the perimeter most time, but he's known to come in and rebound. And then you versatile, So there's a lot of times it was all three of us sitting in the paint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
getting
we'll
caught out.
score the ball, but they'll get it out quick and a three ball going up. So
Yeah,
that's why I learned when we lost. I was like, okay, it's actually you got to have a strategy to this 3-on-3 thing too. And sure enough, we came up with a strategy and we took care of business the next time we played them. But
yeah, yeah,
I like 3-on-3 basketball, and
yeah. It's
I'm
good.
glad it's getting like recognition as far as like becoming an Olympic sport, and it's only gonna grow from here. The only thing I said, like you said, is just change the basketball. I don't
Yeah,
understand. Like I know you're trying to make it unisex, and I'm all for.
just use different balls for the. There's
Yeah,
no
just
reason.
use different
Yeah,
basketball.
yeah.
I,
It makes sense.
yeah, it don't make
That's
sense. We
all.
got autonomy. Well, I can't even word, but anatomy wise, we have bigger hands normally. But yeah, we're not gonna get into that.
Hey,
But
you've seen Tash, and also Kerry's got. They're not exactly like Tash can
yeah,
part of all.
yeah. Um, just last couple of questions I asked you.
Go
So you know, current state of British basketball, not just talking about the BBL, but like, everything in between, what you doing. Uh, BBL, of course, Division One, Division Two, Team GB, basketball in England. The current state of basketball in England, what do you think about, basketball, the good things, the bad things, and where do you see British basketball going in the future? Because we could talk about how good it was and how good the BBL was in the
see,
2000s and late 90s, but what do you think of it now and where it's going?
now I think it's becoming a lot more. What's the word? Very unified in regards to the way the basketball's played throughout the world now. So I think the BBL's catching up, and the British basketball game is catching up with the rest of the world, which is depressing when you think of it that way, because like, why weren't we moving at the same pace as everyone else? Why are we just catching up with it now? It don't make any sense. You look at the teams throughout. After you look at the dream team, what's kind of ignited the world in regards to basketball and how quickly the rest of the world developed and left us behind. And there was no reason for that, really. It was the fact that we just weren't given the opportunities to play. But watching the basketball now, like it's fast paced, it's high. It's more the type of game I like to play when I was in my day. Like a lot more like crossovers, flashiness, breaking people down, pull ups, high flying, all this type of stuff that people loved about basketball, but we weren't allowed to do it back in the day over here. So I think the future's bright for the British game. I mean, you look at some of these athletes now that are coming through, and some of the players that are playing in the BBL right now, even down to like some of the young boys you've got playing on the Patriots. The athletic gifts are just incredible, and you combine that with them growing up in good programs now, and being taught the game by good coaches, and being taught the game the correct way to play from fundamentals all the way through to it, and given the tools and the knowledge to be able to like, progress through the professional ranks. Because let's be honest, like nobody takes part in the sport just to take part in the sport. Like even at a young age, you've got ambitions of being the best player you can be, being professional. And nowadays, I think there's knowledge out there now, and the guidance from coaches that provide, give guidance to players to be able to teach them and develop them in the way that they need to give them a maximum chance to make it to the level that they're capable of going to. On the BBL, you can look at it now, like people, how quick they are, how athletic they are, how fast they move up and down. I think still to this day, I would say the BBL still needs to open up to more British-based players. I still base it on, because that's the only way they're going to develop. I still love the rule that I don't know whether they still do it now, but I might be talking showing my age here when you talk about the Irish Super League, where they had to have two Irish passport holders on the floor at all times. They wanted to. I think that sort of rule would benefit the British game massively for the homegrown talent who may not get a look in. We go back to my days at the Raiders. But we had three, sometimes four at one point. Imports playing for the team. On a rotation of seven players, some of the Brits just weren't. Who should have been playing. Like every player on our team back then should have played, but
Yeah.
just didn't benefit from it because they just weren't getting the look in. So, I love seeing some of the like players who are Brit born succeeding in the BBL. I still think we've got a long way to go to catch up and be on the world stage with some of the more talented countries. I think talented is the wrong word to use, because I think seeing our game over the years, I would say I would argue the fact that a lot of our players coming out of Britain are more talented on the same sort of level as a lot of the players in the States, but at one point our development just ceases, it just stops, or it just tapers off. Whereas other countries just keep going at a steady pace, or in some cases, the States to shoot up even further. I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know where that comes from or why that happens. Maybe access, maybe that general knowledge, maybe time and commitments, to the UK player. But I think we are closing that gap massively as years go by. I mean, even down to Division One now, you've got some incredible players playing Division One who should be playing BBL. And it was saying back in the when I was playing, we had Division One players who chose to play Division One because they weren't getting a look in to the BBL because of politics and other reasons. But the game nowadays is exciting, and it's great because having two children now who I obviously aspire to play when they're older, and when it helps them out massively. And to see players run around, jump around, and shoot and dribble up pace, fast pace, have character, be involved with the crowd at some points. It just, I think the future's bright for British basketball.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think the talent is definitely here for us. Like the British born guys, like I said before, I got a lot of respect for the British talent, and I want to be one of those guys that help the BBL get to like
There's
same
one of my
respect
coaches,
level, huh?
Danny Bryan, just signed it. What's up,
Oh
coach?
yeah, what up, man? But yeah, just get the respect level up, so it could be a hotbed. And just thinking like not everybody in the States, just thinking about my American side, like a lot of people growing up wanting to be a professional basketball player, they don't think about coming overseas until reality hits them that they're not gonna make it to the NBA.
Yeah.
And like I guarantee you, they did a survey out of 100 people who didn't make it to the NBA, what country of choice would they go to? Especially Americans, they would say England, just because we're not too really uh, internationally educated on how it is over in the world. You know what I mean? And for us, going to an English-speaking country is like an easier
Oh
transition.
yeah,
So,
without doubt.
but with we know all the pay not here is not the greatest. You know what I mean, compared to other places around the world. So, my thing is, like you said, for the future going on, I think we're in a great place right now. I think it's catching up for our popularity. But in the future, I would just like to see, like you said, more development. And that means, for me, I think a solution to that was just, like I said, just building basketball facilities for an affordable price. I know it's tough because you got to add in water, electricity, all this and that. But I just say, yeah, those are kind of excuses. You got to get the job done because, um, like you said, it's a lot of talented people, British basketball players. And if those kids can step into an affordable court and start at the age of 8 instead of starting at the age of 14 or 15, that betters their chances of like becoming a big time superstar.
Yeah.
And they might gain global attention because with social media you can share so many things nowadays, and they might take pride in their country and want to play in the BBL, and that could just be something that just takes the whole league to the next level. So I think the people in charge got to really see the long game and try to really develop the players at a younger age, more so than like 13, 14, 15. Not saying that's too late, because there's a lot of NBA players, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, a lot of people who picked up the game at a later age, but it's even better if you get them at the age of like 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, of course. It always helps that those players you mentioned are like 6'10", 7 foot.
That's
That don't happen too often.
You're right, but
It,
there's some
it,
tall kids in the UK though. So I know what you mean. But
it,
yeah, I think BBL's in good hands, and eventually they'll get there.
no, without a doubt. And I think you hit a nail on the head in regards to like, having the opportunity to play for kids, like generally, like, affordable basketball, being able to find a gym that isn't dusty or broken rims or freezing cold, or it's just the opportunity to play. I think education for coaches as well is massive in this country, and it's getting better. But I know firsthand of a number of programs who still coach in a very dated way, like old-fashioned basketball, which is fine as for an introduction. But what's your job? I think as a coach, your job isn't just to introduce basketball; it's to develop basketball and to develop players. So when they get to a certain age, okay, great. Okay, you've excelled at this level. You need to now start working on this and working on that. And if you're a coach and you're not prone or have the experience to be able to teach skills at the next level, at the finer points, of breaking down a defender, breaking down, the positionings, or the finer points of shooting, and then sometimes you get to a certain age, as you know yourself, like there's always a time when you get to an age. I think mine would have been about 14, 15, when I had to make the decision whether I was going to really push for it and then learn what I needed to do to excel at a particular skill or at basketball just generally. And then having real life conversations with my coaches and be like, right, if you don't do this, you're not going to work it out. If you don't spend, 4 to 6 hours in the gym 6-7 days a week, then you're not going to have a chance to be able to do it. The best quote or the best thing I ever read was about Kobe Bryant. Now, I was never a Kobe fan, rest in peace, but the way that he approached his training regime in regards to the amount of time he put into it, like he'd get up at 5 a.m. and work out between 5 and 7, and then go do his normal training, from 8 till 10. And his whole process was that over the course of a season, I'm getting 1 to 2 training sessions in more than every other player. Then I'm going to be, 10 to 12 hours a week, 25 to 30 hours, every 2 weeks, and some, 1,000 hours at the end of the month.
Fair.
Better off, more with more practice under my belt than somebody who was laying in bed until, the first training session of the day. And I think making kids understand what it takes to be a professional, because they're so engulfed in social media, in reality TV shows where people get famous real quick. To be able to teach kids nowadays that, that doesn't happen. You've got to put the hours in, 10,000 hours to learn a skill. And I've got kids, and even today, are like, I'm going to be a professional basketball player. Great, I love that. I love that ambition. What are you doing to achieve that goal? Oh, I come to your session. Great. What else are you doing to achieve that goal? And that's it. And yet, but their ambition is still there, and I love their ambition. But you kind of like need to have that conversation. Like, okay, great. This is what my responsibility as a coach is to tell you the truth about to help you develop as a player, but also tell you the truth about we've had players walk into a gym. I'm a point guard. Yeah, I've seen you dribble. You're not a point guard. You could be a shooting guard or a small forward, but you're not a point guard. All right, I'm a big man. Yeah, you're 5'10". These type of things that and I think it's becoming more of a common conversation now for coaches in this country, in particular, being more truthful to the players and helping them develop, which is showing. It's showing in the BBL. People are getting better. People are improving or understanding what it takes to be a professional.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. And last couple questions. The next one will be like a little rapid fire, a little lighthearted questions. Then I get to the last one. So for the rapid fire, man, McDonald's or Burger King? Which one you prefer?
Burger King.
Burger King.
Burger King. I can go into. We've had this conversation with other people before. Now. I can go into detail why Burger King is better than McDonald's.
I agree. Nando's or Five Guys?
Oh, Nando's.
Oh.
I love Five Guys, but Nando's.
Okay. I know the answer to this. Well, it might have changed up, but we talked about it last summer. Who's the GOAT, LeBron or Michael Jordan?
I'm not even going to answer that question because it's an insult. But first of all, like, if anyone else comments on LeBron James, and I'm a LeBron James lover, I think he's great. Like, I think he's amazing. But no, come on, Rashad. I know we've had a conversation.
I thought you said LeBron was the GOAT.
No, listen. No, I'd say LeBron James is the best player to ever play the game of basketball. But Jordan is always will be the GOAT.
All right, fair enough. Your favorite pair of shoes to hoop in all time?
KD 14s. It depends. So in regards to look, it was the Concords, the Jordan 11s. But the KD 14s are just freaking insane. Like, I'm obsessed with them. I've bought way too many pairs this year. But yeah, they're the best shoes by far I've ever hooped in. KD 14s by far.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Gareth is a shoe connoisseur. That was my next question. How many shoes you think you have in total?
I haven't counted in years, but
Mm.
the entire eve of my house upstairs is stacked. I do need to sell some, but I yeah. So like the KDs, I've got like 6 pairs of them in
Okay.
different colors. So yeah, I don't know. I think last time I counted it was 80s, 90s.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say something in the 300s or something like that,
No,
man.
no. I tell you, like, wait. When I was younger, yeah.
Yeah.
Paid it off. When I was at the Raiders, I had the house I stayed in. I must have left thousands of pounds left there, man, in shoes because I just couldn't get them all back. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I over the years, you know, what it's like you get children, you get rent to pay and mortgage to pay and things like
Real
that. You
life.
can't,
Real
yeah.
life stuff. Real life stuff. It's not
I,
about
I
you
I
no more.
I get in enough trouble buying the shoes I already buy. So
I might got you in trouble by bringing it up right now.
nah, it's cool.
Favorite food?
Chicken.
Chicken. I hear you. If you was on a deserted island for a year and they had a TV for you to watch, but you can only pick 3 movies,
Oh
what three
wow.
movies you watching for a year?
Interstellar.
Oh, oh, oh!
Love that movie.
I love that movie too.
Oh God, now you got me. I love my movies.
I
I'd
got 2 more.
say I'm a huge. No, I love The Gladiator.
Okay, I haven't seen that
Uh,
yet, but I definitely need to watch that.
excuse me.
I know. That's what everybody says. I know.
Um, yeah. See, if I couldn't take The Gladiator, it'd be The Last Samurai. So that'd be those type of movies. I love The Last Samurai, that movie. And oh man, if I had to take, if I choose to, yeah, it'd be one of those two. And then Any Given Sunday is always a go-to movie.
That is a good one. That is a good one. I remember it's so crazy. I remember seeing Last Samurai and Any Given Sunday in theaters when they came out.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have been watching both of those movies at the time because I was a little young at the time. But yeah, I
No.
remember those are some classics. And last but not least, who's your favorite player all time? It could be NBA, BBL, it don't matter.
Oh, see now, NBA is going to be Jordan with a
Okay.
close. I've got a shout out to a couple of players in that era, which would be Larry Johnson and Sean Kemp and Charles Barkley, obviously. Um, BBL. I used to love. You guys might know, like a guy called Eric Burke. He used to play at London Leopards back in the day. Danny Lewis was always a favorite to play to watch. And I always forget his first name. I think his name was John Trezant. Now Jenny Birch would know him, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, John Trezant, I think his name was. He used to be a bit of a high flyer back in the early days.
Mm. Fair enough, fair enough. And I always ask my special guests on the show just for motivation because I know it's like, I try to talk to the young crowd. I'm all about uplifting the youth and helping them just find motivation on chasing their goals and helping them achieve their goals. What advice would you give to a young person wanting to not even, necessarily play professional basketball? Of course, if they want to play, what advice would you give them? But just anybody that want to play basketball at a high level, what advice would you give to them?
Finer points. Dedicate the hours. Things don't just happen. You got to put the hours into work. I mean, I talk to my kids all the time about it. They want to be good at things. If you want to be good at anything, it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes dedication. You have to make tough choices as you grow up. But listen to your parents. Listen to your coaches. Ask questions. Push the boundaries a little bit. Well, why do I need to do this? Learn the finer points of things. Like education is massive, not just in regards to schools, but in regards to everything you do. You need to learn. You need to learn what it's about to be a professional, what it's about to be a basketball player, what it's about to be a CEO or a businessman or anything. You've got to learn the finer points to be able to succeed and be prepared for failures. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is a Rocky quote. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up and what you do with it. You know, and that might be exactly like, you know, like word for word, but along those lines. So, you know, preparation, dedication, commitment are massive, no matter what you want to do in life, not just basketball, you know, just in life in general.
Yeah, man, appreciate that. And yeah, just for me to throw my little 2 cents in, just exactly what Gareth said, and then the cliches, believe in yourself, never give up, and more specifically, you gotta like you said, preparation for the young crowd that's watching right now. You gotta really pull out a piece of paper and write down what kind of drills you're gonna do for how
Yeah,
long, and then what days of the week you're gonna do it. It's easy to say you're gonna do it, but as humans, sometimes our brains are unreliable. Sometimes we
yeah,
get lazy. But when you write it down and you see that you took the time out to do it, you're gonna respect it more, and you be
yeah,
like, all right, I need to go do ball handling for 10 minutes. I need to do form shooting for 15 minutes. I need to make 300 shots after that. And you just got to have a set plan, like you said. You just can't go in there saying, oh, I'm going to make the NBA. Nothing in life works like that, just saying it. You got to
no,
take the time, write out your goals, write out a game plan. And then for the guys that's really more advanced, you got to watch film. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, correct,
It's
yeah,
easy to go out there and play, but like you said, Kobe Bryant, he was a beast with a work ethic, and part of his work ethic was just staying and watching countless hours of film on what he did wrong.
yeah,
Like you said, and also you said, you got to be prepared for failure. The good thing about film is it don't lie. So,
hmm,
all the things you're doing wrong, you can correct it easily just by watching yourself and knowing your tendencies. So,
yeah,
yeah, for everybody, out all the young kids, never give up, and everything Gail said and I said, try to apply that to your life. And
and you know, ask questions for the ones who do watch. Ask questions, send shoot a message over to Deuce or even myself. Like, we've got time. I might not get back to you straight away, but we'll get back to you eventually. You know,
that's
any
a,
advice anyone wants. Like, part of being part of the basketball family, especially in the UK, is we extend our knowledge to everyone who wants it.
right,
On the court, off the court, and if you want to talk basketball, shout.
right. And it's funny you say that because last week I had a guy who does media on his own, but it's like more so BBL based, and his name is Chris G, and he was like networking was his
Yeah,
advice. So, like you
yeah,
said, don't be afraid to ask, reach out, because you got to learn. The more educated you are, the more likely you are to be successful in that situation. And shout out to my mom, rest in peace. She always used to say, "There's no
yeah.
such thing as a dumb question. If you don't know, you just don't know."
That's
And
it.
so, like you said, reach out and ask somebody because you got, yeah, like you said, you got yourself, myself, and we'd be glad to give you help on basketball because we just love the game and we
That's
just
it.
trying to make it better. But with that being said, man, appreciate you. TAAP
No
Show is
worries.
coming to a close now. Thank
Say
you.
say
That
hi
was
to Zach real quick. He just signed in. What's up, Zach?
yeah. Shout out to I was about to say I'm gonna open up the floor. Garrett, shout whoever you want to shout out. Shout out to your people right now.
Just my family, my friends, all my teammates. GB lot, see you this weekend. If you're watching, let's go get it. And great seeing you guys, and hope to see you, Rashad and Kerry and the kids over this summer for a barbecue and some hoops.
Yeah, no worries. You'll definitely see us very, very soon. And we got a little better transportation this summer.
That's
So
it.
things are on the up. It's the year to deuce deuce.
That's
So
it.
before we leave, I just got to give a shout out to my mom, my grandma, my
That's
family,
it.
of course, whole Patriots family, everybody back home in Atlanta, and yeah, everybody that support TAAP Athletics, and just good people, all the hoopers all around. Appreciate y'all. So yeah, like I said, that was episode 10 of the TAAP Show. Gareth Laws. Thank you for having me on, coming on the show, man. You'll be
No
seeing me on the
problem.
Meet Navit real soon. I'll be handing out buckets, and yeah, whenever that Bridgeport tournament is,
Yeah,
I'm down to link up with you and defend
no
that
doubt.
title. So
Cool.
have a good evening, brother. I'll see you soon. I'll probably see you next week, man.
All right, love to all, man. Love to all.
All right, man. See
Take
you.
care. Later.